Hi guys, hope that you're well. Welcome back to the channel. This is where we look at my table tennis, my matches, my tournaments, my training and everything that I do to try and get better. And then obviously I like to share things that I'm working on, advice that I've been given to hopefully allow you guys to pick a few things up and get a little bit better yourselves. So this is going to be a new series of videos that I'm going to do. It's going to be called The Importance Of, and we're going to be looking at all sorts of different things with regards to table tennis. We're going to be looking at some real specifics, and it's going to cover different types of shots, different types of tactics, different types of mental approach, and just all different kinds of stuff really that you can work on. I mean, this is going to come from the advice and things that I've kind of learned myself along the way. I am by no means claiming to be an expert at table tennis. You know, it's not obviously gospel what I'm going to be telling you. I mean, I think it'll be quite interesting to do stuff like this because I'm always open to other people's viewpoints, other people's interpretations of things that we're discussing. Because there isn't really like a right or wrong answer to it. I mean, all I can say is that I've been playing now for probably about 7 or 8 years, and I've moved on from being pretty much a complete beginner to being a fairly competent local league player. So there's definitely things that I've learned along the way which has helped my table tennis. So so this is what I'm going to be giving you. It's going to be things that have definitely helped me to improve, things that I'm going to continue to work on to try and improve myself. So hopefully you guys out there will find this useful. So the first episode of this is going to be called The Importance of Letting Go of the Fear of Missing a Shot. So this is something that is really, really important for me if you want to progress and move yourself up, certainly from a beginner level to an intermediate level. But I think this is certainly applicable from an intermediate level to a more advanced level as well. I think the problem that people can have sometimes when they play table tennis, and it's certainly happened to myself, is that you can be playing in a match and you're desperate to win it. And you get a little bit safe. You don't want to miss a shot. You try and keep the ball on the table, and you do everything that you can to basically make the opposing player make a mistake. Now, I think in some instances that can be a good thing, of course, depending on the type of player that you're playing, what's at stake in the match as well. If it's a really, really important match, then perhaps, that's a good thing to do. But I mean, I would say overall, if you're going to go and play like that, you're only ever really going to stay around a certain level, because you're relying on, unless you've got some really, really good digs, some really good chops, you've got pimples, and the whole point of your game is to make things awkward for your opponent, then yes. But I would say that for most normal players who play like a standard kind of topspin driving game, then just keeping the ball on the table, like I say, it will win up to a certain level. And then beyond that, you're going to be playing against people who are too consistent with the forehand and with the backhand, and it's just not going to do you any good. Now, I've seen this before with a few of the guys that I play table tennis with, and I've seen it with myself where you're just too safe and you're just desperately trying to keep the ball on the table to try and win the point. So from my own personal perspective, my game really developed around about, it was the season 2017 to 2018. So it was my first season playing in the Warrington League. And initially, when I first started playing, I mean, I didn't have a clue what to expect with league table tennis. I didn't even really know what I was trying to do or what my, what my style was. I hadn't really developed my game at all, other than I was quite consistent. I could hit a nice forehand, I could hit a nice backhand, I could push, I could serve. But I mean, I was just kind of going into matches, just thinking, just like I say, just try not to make any mistakes, and I'll do okay. And that did work to an extent. But what I found myself doing was, I was very cautious in the way that I played, and and in particular, if somebody were to push to me, I would push back. So I would we'd push the ball around, waiting for somebody to take the initiative, and then we'd kind of go from there. So that was fine. But what I'd been doing in my coaching, so I'd started to have a bit of coaching with George Lennon, who's a very, very good coach from Warrington. And we've been doing a little bit on trying to do forehand and backhand open-ups, so which is where somebody will push a backspin ball to you, and then you will then try and topspin that ball. It's one of those shots that you've got to have good technique and you've got to have good confidence in the shot. If you try and topspin a backspin ball without any real acceleration or any real commitment to the shot, then you're going to miss it. You'll more than likely put it in the net, or you'll sometimes put it long. I just remember having this little period where I'd been learning to play the shot, and in training I was quite good at doing it. And then in a match, somebody would push to me and I'd think to myself, I'm going to do it, but then I wouldn't do it. And then I think, no, I'm going to go for it this time. No, I'm not going to go for it this time because it's an important part of the game. It's an important part of the match. It's an important part of the night. And for those first few months from September through to December 2017, I won some, but I lost a lot more than I won. And I was kind of finding it increasingly frustrating that I was doing well in my training, but I wasn't doing as well in the matches. And then something kind of clicked and something changed a little bit in the sort of the January and the February, because what started happening was I started beating players the second half of the season that I was losing to the first half, and that was almost completely down to the fact that I started to open up against backspin better. Okay, there's no doubt about that, and it's one shot almost above all else that really kind of will move you up 1 or 2 levels from a beginner to a more intermediate. If you can consistently open up against backspin, then you really are going to become quite a formidable player at local league. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is you have to let go of the fear of missing. And like I say, this was really what sort of changed for me. And I can remember one night in particular where we played at the David Lloyd in Warrington, I think it was. And I just kind of said to myself, we were kind of warming up and having a bit of a knock and stuff, and we were playing against a good side. And I just sort of said, if somebody pushes, I'm going to try and open it, no matter what. And if I miss it, I'm going to go for it again. And if I miss that, I'm going to go for it again, and so on and so forth. And it was really kind of a liberating experience, because all of a sudden I was playing without fear. I wasn't bothered if I was going to miss, because I just knew no matter how many times I missed, I was going to still go for the next shot. I played really well that night, and that was that was a real kind of turning point for me in my table tennis career as a whole, and certainly that season. And I think that attitude is just so important. And if you're going to develop your game long term, this is something that you absolutely have to do. There's a book by Larry Hodges which is called Table Tennis Tactics for Thinkers. I would highly recommend that you read it. It's a fantastic book. There's loads and loads of good stuff in it. I mean, there's almost a bit too much to really digest, but it's one of those books that you can kind of keep going back to over and over again and read over certain sections, and there's like little bits that you can take out of it that will definitely help. I'm going to do a review on that book actually as well. I'm going to do a separate video and just pick out some certain points that I'm going to share with you guys as well. So hopefully you'll find that useful. But I would definitely recommend that you read it. And he talks about, there's 2 types of thinking in table tennis. There is tactical thinking, there is strategic thinking. And they are 2 totally different things. Tactical thinking is a very much like a short-term mentality, which is where you're playing against a specific person and you are thinking tactically, what do I need to do to beat this person? Strategic thinking is much longer-term thinking, which is where you're trying to develop certain shots that you might not have at the moment, but by working on them now, you will develop them longer term. You'll have those shots. So just as an example, you might play against somebody maybe who is quite weak against a backspin ball. So, you could push against them 2 or 3 times and they will eventually miss. So if you play that person, now if you're a beginner to the lower levels of intermediate and you're playing against that type of player, okay? Tactically, the right thing to do is to just push and push and push till they miss, okay? And you'll beat them. And you'll come away and you'll be like, okay, well, that's great, I've beaten that player. But you're not going to develop longer term by doing that, okay? Now, if that was a really important match, a really crucial part of a team match or something like that, and you desperately had to beat that player to beat him, then that's the right thing to do. In my opinion, the way that I've kind of developed over the last couple of years is that I would probably be thinking a little bit more strategically, and certainly that's how my game started to develop at the early stages. So against that type of player, what I would do is, okay, I'll push once, maybe push twice, but then I'm going to try and open up. Now, it may well be that they're actually much better at blocking than they are at pushing. Okay, it may well be that, like I say, at this stage, you're missing a lot of your open ups. So you could end up adopting that strategy where you're trying to open up everything and they're blocking it really well and you don't open it up that well. You might end up losing to that player. So tactically, or in terms of tactical thinking, that was the wrong thing to do. But in terms of strategic development, it was the right thing to do, because you're starting to develop those habits that will kind of help you in the longer term. Because, like I say, it has to start somewhere. And if you, like I say, if you start sort of say like, okay, well, yes, I want to start being more aggressive, I want to start opening up and I want to start attacking players, but I've got an important match on Thursday, so I'm not going to do it then. I've got a tournament coming up and I don't want to do it then. You're just never going to make that. You're never going to make that switch. You've just, like I say, you've just got to try and go for the shots and not worry about the consequences. I think that's one of the best things to do. Now, I'm not at all saying that, just try and hit every shot as hard as you possibly can. Of course, I'm not saying just be overly aggressive, try and smack everything, and, eventually it's going to start working. Of course, you need the correct technique, which will come from practice and from coaching. You need to be able to pick the right ball to do it. You've got to pick the right moments to go for your shot. So I'm not saying just be like all out aggressive, but like I say, I went from somebody pushing the ball to me, my instinct to push it back. I mean, I would say now my instinct, if somebody pushes the ball either side, I'm going to try and open that. I mean, if anything, like I've actually gone the other way now. So if somebody said to me, actually, yes, tactically for this match, you need to push 2 or 3 times before you open up, I find that incredibly hard to do, because I push the first one, the next ball that comes back, I just want to go for it. I mean, I would say for me personally that this line of thinking is still very, very relevant now, because I'm really trying hard to develop my backhand side. So my forehand side has been good and has been strong, and I've got a good range for quite some time now. And it's not too much of a worry. And the really interesting thing with my forehand is that, because I've got so much confidence in it, that if I go for a shot and I miss it, it genuinely doesn't bother me. Because I don't even have to say to myself, oh, come on, keep going for it. Because it's kind of like, it's part of my DNA now that like I'm going to go for those shots. With my backhand, it's not quite there yet. So there are times where, of course, I'll go for my backhand, but there are times where I'm too safe with it, and I maybe will push a second time with my backhand rather than trying to open it and trying to go for it. So I've not quite got that with my backhand just yet, but I am still working at it, and I'm still very aware that for me to develop my backhand longer term, I've got to let go of the fear of missing. It's really, really important that, because otherwise my backhand is going to stay where it is now and it's not going to get any better. You've got to push it. So I play quite a lot of golf. One of the really interesting things about golf in the last 10, 15 years or so is that distance has become a huge thing. And now they place a lot of emphasis on speed training. And one of the things that they do in speed training is that you use various different training aids to swing the club or swing the training aid faster than you would a real club in real life, to get your body used to like moving really, really fast. And then what you can do is when you actually go out on a golf course, when you're holding a real golf club, you can actually rein in what you're doing, so you're not trying to hit it quite as hard, but because you've trained your body to move so fast, you've kind of increased the baseline. So you do that over a period of time, and you're swinging the club faster without even realising it. That's kind of like it's a certain way of thinking. I'm not necessarily saying that you need to try and hit the ball really, really hard, but it's a bit like if you're going to develop and push your baseline higher and higher, then you've got to aim for even more, and then you can kind of rein it back a little bit. So this could be something that you could develop in training as well, where you really like go for your shots, go crazy in training, really, really go for them. Again, using the correct technique. Again, making sure that you get in position to do it, but like really like be almost more aggressive than you would be. And then when you get into a match, you can actually rein that back a little bit, but all of a sudden you're a bit more aggressive than you were before. So so this is something that I would, I can't really emphasize this enough. For you to make the leap to the next level, and certainly from a beginner to a more intermediate level. And again, like I say, for me to make my move from my intermediate to a slightly more advanced level, I have to let go of the fear of missing, because that's the only way that I'm going to develop and that I'm going to get better. It can sometimes mean that initially you might be getting a little bit worse and your results might suffer, but in the longer term, you are going to develop, because the more that you try and play those shots, especially in matches, the better that you're going to get at them and the more likely they are to go on. So give it a try. Like I say, I think it's really, really important. It's something that I've discussed with a few of the lads that I play with, and I'm really trying to encourage some of those guys to do the same thing. Don't get too safe. Don't worry too much about the result of what you're doing, unless it is, like I say, a really, really crucial match. Don't worry about the results. You go for your shots. You try and develop your game. The results will take care of themselves. Okay, so I hope that's been useful. Like I say, I've got lots of these kind of videos planned. They're going to be like, sort of like little short videos where I'm going to have a bit of a discussion about different kind of aspects of table tennis, and hopefully you'll pick up a few things that's going to help your game. All right, I'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys.